Flash here and welcome back to a video on The Flash Season 3. Now, I know this is a little late coming out considering the season finished in May, but I did only start doing Arrowverse content over the last month or so I wanted to get my opinions out on Season 3 of The Flash, so I had it up on my channel so you guys knew what I thought about the season and what I liked and what I didn't like. So, I'm going to get straight into this with the stuff that I didn't like. I'm going to do the bad stuff first, and then we're going to end off on a positive note with all the good stuff. So, honestly, there isn't much I didn't like about Season 3. I liked it overall, but one of the things I didn't like was how long they waited to reveal who Savitar was. Because they waited until episode 20 to reveal who he was, which annoyed me to all hell and back, because we only had, so 20 he was revealed, so we had 21, 22, and 23, so we have 3 episodes to learn about him, Barry, why he became Savitar, and that was really poorly planned out. I understand what they were trying to do in building suspense, but I am of the opinion that Savitar should have been revealed at episode 16, being the Wrath of Savitar, or 18 at the latest, I'd say, because then we have if it was 16, we'd have 17, 18, 19, 20, we'd have a lot of episodes, to build up who he was, what happened to him, and why he became Savitar, and it wouldn't have been as tacked on as I felt it was. But also, the fact that they didn't really explain much. They explained the fact that he was a time remnant which the Savitar didn't kill, and then Team Flash rejected him, but they didn't explain why he had the scars on his face. I was really interested to know why he had the scars on his face, but I do think it was because he was running through time as the Flash and he got burnt because he was running so fast. Because if you look at the scarring on his face, it's in the shape of the Flash cowl. So I have a feeling that's why that was like that. But there were a few other things I took issue with in the season as well. So starting off, another one is Flashpoint. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the episode, it was cool, but they strayed as far away from the comic book version as they possibly could. Okay, I understand that the CW changed things from the comic books, but this was a drastic change. One of the only things that they kept the same was that Eobard went back and killed his mother, and he was in the alternate timeline where everything was different. Where otherwise they did their own they did their own story and then just put the Flashpoint title on it to hype people up. That's what I thought they did. And then going on into the rest of the season, there was, I think it was episode 3. The Magenta episode. I didn't really like that episode. It just felt weird, and Magenta wasn't really I don't know, I haven't really seen much of Magenta in the comics, but I feel like she wasn't a very good villain. I know she was more of 50-50, am I villain, am I not, and it was more set up for Wally getting the visions of Savitar in the future, but it's still, they could have done way better. Also, Shade is so much more in, even in the Justice League cartoon from the early 2000s, Shade was so much more in that. And I understand, in the Flash, every villain basically has to be a meta, but I would have rather seen Shade use, in the comics, he has, a cane, which he projects darkness onto people, and they can't see. I'd rather have seen that than have him be what he was in the show. He was taken down so fast as well. It's they had all the build-up to Shade right up until the episode, and then Barry just defeats him with light. And it's oh, it's over now, don't worry about it, guys. That pissed me off. That, I will say now, that did piss me off. But, trying to think what else I didn't like in the season. It's really hard to criticize for me for The Flash, because I like it so much, but, what else was there? Infantino Finish Line. Oh, I'm gonna touch on Finish Line. I enjoyed it. It was a cool episode, but I felt Infantino Street was more of a season ender than Finish Line was, because they didn't really have the build up in Finish Line. It was more exposition. Oh look, here's Savitar, we're gonna fight him now. Oh look, he's dead. And then, oh, Barry's going into the Speed Force Spy Guys. That's what I felt Finish Line was. Whereas Infantino Street had the build up. Barry was on the clock. He had to get the Dominator attack to be able to save Iris so they could make the Speed Force canon, and then they had to build up with Captain Cold. Is he going to get out, escape from King Shark? And then we had this really sad ending, which they ruined in Finish Line. Because they had the sad ending where Iris did the voiceover as Barry was running towards her in slow motion before Savitar stabbed her. And then they just completely ruined that and went back on themselves in Finish Line in saying, oh, by the way, Iris isn't dead, it was HR, he tricked us all, he wanted to be the hero. And if you're gonna make us feel that emotion, don't just go off and take it back the next episode. You can't do that. That's not how it works. But still, that was all of the things I didn't like about the season. Now I want to get into the things that I did like. So there are quite a few things that I did like in the season. So for example, I loved Invasion. I felt Invasion was the best crossover they've done so far. And I'm really looking forward to this year's crossover. I love the how they brought Supergirl into the CW verse. I liked the Heroes versus Heroes action. That was awesome. Seeing Barry and Oliver fight the rest of the Arrowverse, the Arrowverse heroes, was just awesome. I don't want to see that again next year, just because it's a done concept and they can do better. But I also like the Dominators, the end battle with the Dominators, where they had all of the heroes lined up and before they fought the Dominators, and it was essentially a CW Justice League, and that was freaking awesome. I loved that. Okay, getting into the actual Flash portion of the season, so not crossover material. I liked the new rogues. I liked the introduction of Mirror Master and the Top. They were awesome. I liked how they were they were fighting Cold's legacy to become the new king and queen of Central City. And then I also liked, I think it was called Borrowing Problems from the Past, or Borrowing Problems from the Future, where Plunder was introduced, and I think that was Wally's first test run as Kid Flash, and basically Wally had to take him down instead of Barry, so they were trying to change the timeline so Iris didn't die. And I loved that episode. Then, moving on later in the season, we're coming on to my favorite episode, The Wrath of Savitar. That was an amazing episode. Like, seeing Wally having visions of Savitar in his head, and then him coming out of the Speed Force in the end of the episode, and Wally being sucked into the Speed Force. It was almost like in the comics. And then we had the ending fight with Barry and Savitar. Oh my god, that was amazing. How we had the slow down shot of where they were both like coming at each other, and it was like the camera was moving around them. That was amazing. I love that scene. And how Barry and Savitar, they fought, and he's like, you have everything and you deserve none of it. And at the time we didn't know that Barry was Savitar. Like, people had their theories that Barry was Savitar, but nobody really knew. So we thought that we didn't know what to think, why he was saying that, like how he knew that. He was just one step ahead and he knew everything about them, which then again could have given away that it was Savitar, but still. Anyway, moving on to the next thing I liked about the season, that was the musical crossover. I thought the musical crossover was amazing. I loved it. I love, obviously, Melissa Benoist's singing is amazing, as is Grant Gustin's. The addition of adding Darren Criss into the show as the Music Meister was an amazing choice. Having a Glee reunion was the best decision they've done. And to be fair, I thought he was really good as the Music Meister. Like, he really sold it. And he was one of those villains who didn't really want to hurt Barry. He just wanted to teach him to, like, have love in his heart, because he was so down and brooding after what's been happening with Savitar and seeing Iris die. So I feel like that episode was needed to bring up the tone of the season, bring it more lighthearted. And then we had I Know Who You Are, which was episode 20. I loved that episode. That would probably be my second favorite episode of the season. Like, I thought the Killer Frost was amazing in that episode, and her going through Central City on a sheet of ice, flying through the air was amazing, and Barry chasing her. And then we think that was the episode where we introduced Katie. I can't remember her first name, but Tracy Brand. They introduced Tracy Brand, who I'm not sure if she's going to be coming back for season 4, which would be a bit interesting, because she was only really in 3 episodes. But still, she was an awesome introduction into the show. She gave HR a love interest, and she helped develop the Speed Force bazooka, which didn't really work with Savitar, but ended up helping get Jay out of the Speed Force, which was very helpful in defeating Savitar. And then we had the ending, the reveal of Savitar. Now, I have my opinions of Savitar. I thought it was cool, but he did have a little bit under development, but still, I thought the reveal of Savitar was the best reveal they've done so far. So, having Barry Lupton do the big speech that I know who you are, and then having him reveal himself as and saying, like I told you from the beginning, I'm the future Flash. I love that. That was amazing. That was probably one of the highlights of the season for me. But, and one of the... Sorry, stumbling over my words here. Another thing that I liked in the season was cause and effect. Like, seeing the season 1 Barry, because if you didn't know, in cause and effect, Cisco came up with the idea to, like, block Barry's ability to gain new memories so they'd have an advantage over Savitar, but what it ended up doing was make him forget everything. So he didn't know he had powers, and he was the season 1 Barry. He was really happy and lighthearted, and that episode was really funny, and I felt like we needed that in the season as well. We needed more light tone, because overall season 3 was really dark, and I don't think that was the best decision. I know I'm in the good stuff right now, but I'm going to touch on this quickly. I don't think having the Flash be dark was the best idea they could have had, because in the comics, Barry Allen, yes, he has had some dark stories, but overall, he's a happy, kind-hearted, loving character, and we didn't really get to see much of that in season 3, and that was kind of disappointing. But anyway, I loved the fact we saw season 3 Barry, and I liked how Iris was the one to remind him who he was at the end of the season, and have him end up saving the day. Because if you didn't know, because he lost his memories as well, Wally didn't have speed powers, because Savitar Barry was the one who gave him his powers, because he was using Julian Albert and he gave him his powers. So, if Savitar couldn't remember giving Wally his powers, he's not going to have his powers. Which, that was interesting, because Wally tried to use his powers, and it just didn't work. Like, he didn't have his speed, and it shocked him. And then, I liked the scene where Barry was being reintroduced into Team Flash again, and Wally is like, I'm your brother, and Barry just looks down at his hand and then looks at Wally, he's like, oh, snap, Barry went there. Anyway. Overall, those were my good and bad thoughts on The Flash Season 3. Overall, I would give this season a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was good, but it was a bit of a step back from the previous 2 seasons. But I still enjoyed it, it was still good, and I'm definitely going to pick it up on DVD and Blu-ray when it comes out. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed this review of The Flash Season 3, please do hit that like button, as you know your support is very much appreciated, and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.